Alright, y'all. The only thing that I've done is hang these after polyurethaning. I stuck on the eyes since I saw y'all. Touched up the paint job. I just wanted y'all to see my hanging rack here. Drip all the polyurethane off. The camera set up real quick. So, like I said, here are two popper heads that we were working on yesterday, and you can see those. I did go around and touch up the areas around the eyes with a little bit of cream that I was also using on the underside. I know I debated whether I should take them and just leave them as cork, but I put on two different eye sizes so you can see a little bit of the difference there. I had one bigger, but I'm taking those eyes off of just a sheet here of little resin eyeballs. So those have a sticky layer on the backside, and I stick them on to the paint and then dunk them in polyurethane and let them sit on their hooks. Now, what I was planning on doing today was showing you just quickly how I insert those hooks and get them firmly attached. And I've got two different ways of doing that. One, we've got some 3/0 Gamakatsu worm hooks that I have attached a swivel to on this one, and I'll show you why. Just because with those straight shank on the worm hooks, they seat a little bit deeper into the mouth to get the hook to place further back like this. So I put the swivel on just so you don't have to mess around with trying to lace your line through that little eye of the worm hook. So without a straight shank on there, the other style of worm hook that we've got works sometimes arguably a little bit better. That's in a setup more like this, where you end up having the eye down here at the bottom of the mouth, and it gives it more of a buoyant action whenever you're retrieving that. So either way, we'll do one of these with the straight shank and one of them that has that kink in it. So this is pretty easy. I removed the pins that I was using to be able to hold it while I was painting, and just do one central cut. Oh, had to find my knife. One central cut right up the middle of the underside of the belly. So just try to bisect that directly down the middle. So all I do is pop it right down the middle there, and then you can see your opening, and just slide the hook in there. So you can kind of play with the positioning, make sure that you've got it sitting where you want it to. So as you can see with the bottom there, the little eye of the hook is right here at the base of the mouth, and I've got the back of that hook coming out fairly centrally from the rear portion of the bait. So I'm going to do it to the other one. Drop my other hook. I will take this one, do the same thing, line the blade up right in the middle of the base, and then make your cut. Alright, so the same thing. With this one, you make sure that the hook is coming out centrally in the back, but I also want to make sure that my cut was deep enough that I can get the eye of that hook to go deep into the mouth and make sure that I have a lot of hook protruding out the back of the bait. So this gives me plenty of room to start making that tying pattern, whatever it is that we're going to do here in a second. So I'm going to get my resin back out. This UV resin, y'all, has just changed the way that I make baits entirely. Before this, I was experimenting with various adhesives. I had some epoxy, 5-minute, and then also just doing it with super glue. Super glue is terrible just because it ends up drying kind of crusty. You don't have clarity in that adhesive at the end, versus when you're using this UV resin, this is crystal clear at the end of it. Epoxy also has some clarity issues. Many of those 5-minute epoxies that you can buy end up being somewhat yellow after you finish. I like to go back in and put some epoxy resin also on my eyeballs to lock those in place. I don't want, casting off of any rocks, like smacking those and knocking the eyeballs off of these baits. I want them to remain permanent. So I have found that with this UV resin, this is really the clearest, and also the speed. You don't have to wait 5 minutes. You just have to wait even less than 30 seconds for this resin to be fully cured. So I would highly suggest it if you're looking for some alternatives to mixing up 2-part epoxy. It's so messy. It's, you always have to throw whatever you're mixing it on away afterwards, because I'll usually do it on a scrap piece of paper or something. With the UV resin, I just apply it and hit it with the light, and we're good to go. You can put the bait back in whatever container it is you're using to store, if you're doing it like I am, making a production line and making many baits at a time. So with this setup, you can see what's going on. You've got the swivel coming out the mouth, the hook coming out the back, and when I play with this, I mean, this is locked in there. I mean, this is not going anywhere after that resin cures up. So put this one aside, and we'll get this other one, the different style of worm hook that we've got. This one I'm having to fill in a little bit in the back. This one was the one, if you remember from the part 1 of the video, is got a little bit of damage from the wine cork opener itself. But as long as we fill that gap in with this resin, I don't see it being a problem for our hook moving around back there or anything. Alright, so one more time with the light, hitting this at all angles, making sure that I've got a really strong connection that you have with this resin at the end. But keep it moving, and keep it, especially if you're applying resin to different sides like this. I've got some on the eyes, some I'm trying to cure in the back, where I've got a chunk out of my cork missing, and also in the mouth. So this is a brilliant substance to work with, and it's set up so you can see this one now. We've got, whoops, lost my resin there under the table. we'll get this baby set up to tie. So clamp it into my vise. Just grab my materials here that I'm losing all over the place. So as far as the fly pattern, I have many feathers here in a little box, some of which I find out on hikes with my dog, various species. We've got pheasant, we've got grouse, we've got wild turkey. So depending on what we're looking for, you can get a variety of looks from these. But I think for this one, I've been doing a series of brightly colored, I've got some dyed feathers in here that I've been tying with recently. So I'm going to stick with that and start to maybe work with one of those. So this one's yellow. I'm going to snip the end off. Start to get my tail arrangement first. So you have to excuse my bare bobbin here that I'm currently using to tie these with. So just get some wraps on there to secure this tail down. So tail is on, and might have to just snip that and make it a little bit less of a bulge down there at the bottom. Okay, so I like to bring in whatever I possibly can for these tie materials. I've got a variety of attractive fabrics or ribbons here. We've got some that came off of a dance costume of my wife's. Very nice sequins in there and some flash. There's some gold in it as well. I gather anything. I'm like a magpie. Anything that appears to have some flash and can maybe be tied into a fly, I'll save it. I've got some other stuff here. This is great. Once it starts to fray, you can pull the string on it, and then all of a sudden you've got all this nice tinselly flash to work with. So whatever you see, don't specifically buy everything from the fly tying section at your fishing supply. You know, you can be a little bit creative with it and start to find things at home that will make very good flies also. So a lot of you guys who are more professional than I am are probably going to give me shit for this in the comments, but that's okay. You know, that's part of my learning experience also. So please feel free to give me some suggestions if you are a classically trained fly tyer, in the comments of what you think I could be doing better. But like I said, maybe you guys who are classically trained can learn something too. So right now I'm just trying to build up a little bit of mass in the body here, getting some shorter sections of that yellow feather and just trying to build that up so that the body has a little bit of mass to it. Okay, now I'm going to switch. Got a different kind of feather to build up a little bit more of that fluff. Black or white? Black or white? I think we're going to go with some black. So whenever I'm bringing in these feathers, a lot of times what I'll do is try to start to get them wrapped around the thread like you would with dubbing, and that will get it started, at least as far as its presence around the bait here. Oops. So I get several layers. This almost turns into dubbing at this point because we're using it in almost the same way, just twisting it around the thread and trying to give our bait some more mass here. So as you can see with those feathers, they're really fluffy, and you can almost just apply them around your thread itself. So once I get some going, I'll start that wrap, and when I see it coming off of there a little bit, you can always just grab the end either with your fingers or with some of your little hackle pliers and get that to start to build up around your fly body. Alright, well, I think I'm going to do just one more piece here. Find some small feather parts there. Something that's fine. I think I'm going to do something different. I think I'm going to add a little bit of white. So we'll do two different colors there, black and yellow, and then add a third, add some white here. Because I just don't ever like to leave the amount of mass that has been built up for the body, like tapering into the head, to be like a visual disconnect, and have I like it to taper in to the head smoothly is what I mean. So instead of trying to have your mass built up in the back and then just abruptly enter the head where the cork starts, I'd much prefer it to be somewhat gentle in that transition. So it's up to you how you want to stop this. You can go in and do some whip finishes, which can be tricky around this giant cork head. You probably know some other knots that will sufficiently stop your thread, but I've also just been applying a little bit of adhesive on my thread and then go in and just wrap that before, build up some more thread before I go in finally and do a knot. So I'm going to do that now. This is going to definitely require a little bit of trimming, but overall I'm pretty happy with it, and I think we're going to call this one good. So if you want to see more of these videos or more of the flies that we're going to tie down here, you can follow me on Instagram, bhi.flies, and thanks for watching.